Hello, hello. Welcome to Excuse My Frenemy, the podcast where we talk about some of the big topics in sports and where two fans of rival teams try to put the sports allegiances aside, but we'll probably fail to do so. Thank you for taking time to give us a listen. My name is Sean Brady, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Katie Cabrera. What is going on, KC?
What's going on, everybody? Another week of football is down, leading us to the conclusion of Super Bowl coming up soon. Not this week, but the next following week. So, a lot of good stuff happened over the weekend. So, let's just jump right into it.
As Katie said, this week we're going to discuss those NFL Conference Championship games, and then we're going to talk about some QBs that, quote-unquote, might be on the move, and if so, where we think they might end up. But first, a little disclaimer. This week we'll not be discussing the Brian Flores situation that just happened. For those that don't know, he's suing the NFL for basically racial discrimination. The main reason is because that story kind of broke today, and me and Katie, we have lives outside this podcast, so we didn't really have time to prepare for that topic, at least not well enough where I thought we could give it its proper due. So as Katie knows, and hopefully some of you are figuring out, I don't like to half-ass anything, and that topic was important enough where I didn't want to go into that topic willy-nilly and just making stuff up. So I know that's a big topic right now, but we'll hit it up next week. So with that, Katie, let's jump into the games. Okay, I'm not even going to ask you. I know which game you want to talk about. Let me guess, it's the NFC one, right?
Yep, how'd you know? So, to jump right into it, the Rams versus the Niners, it was a very close game. I honestly thought the Niners were going to take this game, but once again, Niners do what they do and lose it. So, LA Rams are heading off to this, what?
No, just the way you said, they do what they do and they lose it, even though they were in the NFC Championship game.
So the LA Rams are heading off to the Super Bowl. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a home team that is heading off to the Super Bowl. There's a lot of smack talk here and there, NorCal versus SoCal, but congratulations to SoCal. After seeing Jimmy G's performance that day, I give it to you. Take it home, LA. That's all I got to say. LA's going to take it home.
Well, like you kind of hinted at, the Niners did, for all intents and purposes, kind of give this one away. They had a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Poor Jaquiski Tartt had an interception literally fall through his hands. Like, I think Joe Buck was even calling it a pick right before he dropped it. It was that easy. But to be blunt, I don't blame the loss on Tartt like a lot of fans are doing, because that came with still, over 9 minutes to go in the game. There's no guarantee, even if he catches that, the way the Niners offense was playing, that they did anything other than a 3-and-out and give the ball right back to the Rams. So I'm not blaming the loss on Tartt. Now, it would have helped, but I'm not blaming it on him. I'm kind of going to blame it on the coach, because you can't have 3 quarters where you're at least decent and then all of a sudden be completely out of it. For God's sakes, Katie, if I were to ask you, who's the best player on the Niners team this year?
The best one has to be Debo?
Yes. By far, in my opinion, Debo is the best player on their team this year. Katie, he did not touch the ball in the last 12 minutes of that game. How is that possible?
Yeah, and I did see Rams ram him into the floor too when they saw that was the guy that was taking home all touchdowns.
Yes, but he was on the field. I can understand if he was hurt and they left him off field, but on the last couple drives, he was on the field. They just didn't get the ball to him. I don't understand, with your season on the line and momentum swinging to the other team, how you don't give the ball to your best player. I just don't see it. Because I think the Rams are doing everything in their power to give this away. McVay's challenges were just confusing.
I actually agree. I honestly, after watching the game very closely and everything, it looked like the Rams weren't doing a very good job of making sure the ball was on their side the whole time, and they had the advantage. It was mostly the 49ers who had the advantage point on this one.
Yeah, because McVay's first challenge, it seemed like it was just that situation. Like, if you've ever played poker, Katie, you get into a hand with some betting, and then you realize, oh, crap, I may not have the best hand, but you keep betting, hoping to buy your way out of the hand. That's the impression I got with the first challenge. Like, he was so into it, he felt he had to challenge to justify the decision in the first place. And it just didn't make sense to me. And the second one, I don't understand who told him to challenge that one on the quarterback sneak that didn't make it, because there was not an angle that justified him throwing that challenge flag. So they gave up basically all their timeouts. I thought he was actually going to blow the game. What I will say, even though I said Tartt's interception did not cost them the game, I will say it completely swung the momentum because right after that is when they hit OBJ on a very long pass play and drew the penalty at the same time. It ended up being like a 40-something yard turnaround. And after that, it was writing was kind of on the wall. All the momentum had swung. Yeah, it was an interesting game.
I definitely agree with that.
So the other game, we can't go on without talking about the other game too, because that was to me almost just as interesting. In fact, I think it might have been better than the Niners Rams. And that's where the Cincinnati Bengals shocked the world and beat the Chiefs 27-24 in overtime. At one point, Katie, the Bengals were down 21-3.
I saw that.
This tied the largest comeback for AFC title game history. That alone should say something. But where I think the game was lost for the Chiefs was actually in the first half. Because last week, famously, the Chiefs drove down into field goal position with 13 seconds. This week, the Bengals scored with about 1:05 left in the half, and yet the Chiefs did not score before the half. They were down in the red zone inside the 5, and instead of just a quick pass, and if it's not there, throw it out of bounds, Mahomes throws a swing pass out to Tyreek Hill, who gets tackled in bounds. They run out of time, don't even get a field goal off. If you're the Bengals, that's a huge momentum swing. And it seems like in the second half, they took that to heart because in the second half, they made Mahomes look average at best. In fact, he probably looked bad. It was surreal watching that happen. And then the overtime, Mahomes throws a bad pass that should have been picked off. Everybody's thinking, oh, Bengals, there was your chance. The very next play, he throws an actual interception. So it was bizarre. It almost seems like the football stars aligned for the Bengals. But you know who's licking their chops after the Bengals beat the Chiefs? Got any guesses?
Oh.
The Niners. Because the two times
yep.
they've been to the Super Bowl, they've lost to the Niners.
Yep, I definitely agree. Everybody was cheering over here that the Bengals were winning. And I finally found out why.
And to be fair, the whole game, I just kept thinking, after they got up 21-3, I just kept thinking one more Kansas City score is going to put this out of reach. But that score never came. So the Chiefs, they had like 21 points on their first 4 possessions. The only one that they didn't score on was that drive at the end of the first half. But then in the 7 possessions they had in the second half, they only put up 3 points, and that was the last drive. That is a complete 180 between halves, more than I've ever seen.
All right.
So, Katie, this sets up the Super Bowl, which, and we'll talk about probably more next week, obviously, but a couple things to point out. This is the first Super Bowl that will not feature a top 3 seed from either conference. It's the first time a Super Bowl is going to be done between 2 coaches that are under 40. And this is only the second time where the 2 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl are going to face off after being number 1 overall picks in their draft class. The only other time was when Peyton Manning played Cam Newton. So, a lot of history going down on this one, Katie. We'll get to our actual predictions next week, but do you kind of have any feelers or thoughts right out the gate of what do you expect in the Super Bowl?
A WTF moment, because that's all we've been getting from the Super Bowl. So another WTF from the Super Bowl.
Oh, clearly. And I think that point of, because both of these teams are number 4 seeds in their respective conference, I think that is just a testament to how wide open the NFL has been this year. Because think about it. Usually, most seasons, there's at least 1 or 2 teams that are clear-cut above everybody else. Now, I'm not saying they win the Super Bowl, but I'm going to ask Katie, who was that team this year?
It's hard to even say. I mean, this
year... There really wasn't one. I mean, the only team I could think of was the Packers. And I didn't hear anybody saying they were head and shoulders above everybody else.
Right. I wouldn't even say them. It was just a mix of emotions and a lot of WTF moments throughout the whole season. So at the beginning, I could say I had my bets on a couple, but then it changes all the way throughout. So I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I guess that's my point is, of course we're going to have a Super Bowl with two four-seeded teams because they were middle of the pack all year, but the whole season's been teams full of middle of the pack. So, of course it's going to be this way. Okay, so like I said, we'll get into the Super Bowl a little more maybe next week, give you our prediction next week because me and Katie need time to actually sit down and think about it, which means we're going to not think about it and then come up with predictions at the last minute next week, but you've been warned. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic.
Can we talk about something else?
Okay, Katie, topic number 2. And this is going to be kind of predictions, but it's based off people, not teams. And what I'm getting at is there may be some quarterbacks that are on the move this year. And this was a topic that you actually wanted to talk about. So that's why we're hammering in on it. Now, to be fair, before we get into this, none of these quarterbacks are for sure gone. A lot of these are either we're assuming they're going to leave or it's been discussed they may leave, but none of these guys are out of their contract at least until next year. So theoretically, all three could come back. With that in mind, the first quarterback that I know you're dying to talk about, Katie, Jimmy Garoppolo.
That man.
Okay, Katie, of all the teams and all the, because we're going to assume he's moving on from the Niners because they drafted Trey Lance and they got to play the kid eventually at some point. With that in mind, if Jimmy Garoppolo is on his way out of town, where do you think he might end up? Where would be a good fit for him?
I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind is the Washington football team. I mean, one, they have excellent wide receivers. They have really good ones. Two, they have decent running game. And then three, they have a good tie and win health. So I don't see why they wouldn't take him in. But do I see him going anywhere else? No. After that performance, no. But Brady proved me wrong.
Well, no, that's not even a prove wrong. Like, I actually agree with you that the Washington football team would be a good, I guess, microcosm for where he's at now. Because, like you said, Terry McLaurin, he's an absolutely fantastic wide receiver, and he's young. Which, let's be honest, here in the Bay Area, he really only had Deebo Samuel. I mean, he had Ayuk, but like, let's be honest, it was Deebo or bust most of the time. They got a very respectable running game. Gibson was a 1,000-yard rusher quietly that nobody ever talks about. And their tight end, like you said, he's good, Logan Thomas, but he's got health problems, which I hate to say that. That's kind of been Kittle's rap the last 2 seasons, too. He gets banged up. So if you're looking for a mirror image of a situation he's in now, yeah, the Washington football team kind of fits. But I got 2 for you, Katie. One, I'm serious about. The other one, I'm just want to happen because it would be absolutely comical. The first one, the serious one, is the Carolina Panthers. Because, again, they're kind of a microcosm of the Niners. They have Christian McCaffrey. He by himself is an entire running game as long as he can stay healthy. And they got a couple of wide receivers in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson that kind of mirror Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. And the D is not great, but average. So that might be a little bit of a step down. But Jimmy Garoppolo's not going there to play defense. So I think the Panthers could be doing it. That would also probably mean that they'd have to get rid of Sam Darnold. But if I asked you, Katie, right now, who would you take right now, Sam Darnold or Jimmy Garoppolo? What would the answer be?
Jimmy G.
Exactly. So, because he may not be the greatest quarterback, but one thing he has done since he's been here is actually win. Now the comical one. And Katie, try not to laugh too hard when I say this, because it actually makes more sense the further you think about it. So we've said Jimmy G thrives in a place where he has a talented wide receiver and maybe a good second option as wide receiver, a reliable tight end, and a good running game. You know who that sounds like? The Green Bay Packers.
Oh my goodness. No, you did not just say.
Think about it. Like, Deebo Samuel's good, but let's be honest, Devontae Adams is better. Alan Lazard is basically Green Bay's version of Brandon Ayuk. Robert Tonyan, he's not Kittle, but then again, Deebo Samuel's not Adams, so you gain a little wide receiver, but you lose in the tight end field. And their running game is on point. very similarly to the Niners. And oh my God, I just wish this would happen because there would be nothing sweeter than if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay and Jimmy Garoppolo comes in and wins with Green Bay with pretty much the same roster. Would that not just be the sweetest thing on earth right now?
It would be the most hilarious thing on earth if that were to happen. Ah,
Come on, that's a
I gotta
good one.
agree with you that was pretty good. If that were to happen, I agree. That would have been a total WTF.
Oh, and how pissed off would Niners fans be if Jimmy goes to Green Bay and they start winning?
Beyond this world pissed.
Okay, so speaking of Aaron Rodgers, guess who our next quarterback is? Again, not guaranteed he's leaving, but as you pointed out last week, Katie, he's not interested in doing a rebuild, and which basically is the code word for get me out of here. So, Katie, I'll let you go first because I have a couple teams in mind. If Aaron Rodgers is leaving, where do you think he's going?
To be honest, if he were to leave, I would say he's going to the Buccaneers. And yes, because one, they need a quarterback. As we all know, the King is retiring, which we're not going to get in touch of the topic of right now. But mostly because one, he said it in a conference that he is not here to rebuild or build a team anymore. He's done with that. He just needs a team that will play and get what they need to get, and that is it. So what more can he ask for than the Buccaneers? I mean, they have everything already built. They have everything they need. They just need the quarterback. So
that actually is a good idea. My only hesitation with agreeing with you, there's a lot of free agents in Tampa Bay. And quite a few of them, I could probably make the argument, went there because of Tom Brady, which means there's no guarantee they're going to be back. Let me run down the list for you because I pulled it up while you were talking, Katie. Here's the free agents that were starters for the Buccaneers last year. So this doesn't include backups. Chris Godwin, Jason Pierre-Paul, their center Ryan Jansen, Ndamukong Suh, Rob Gronkowski, William Golston, Leonard Fournette, Carlton Davis, their corner, their right guard Alex Kappa, their safety Jordan Whitehead. That's a lot of starters that are going to be gone, theoretically. Or they could come back, and this doesn't even include Ronald Jones, who's their second leading rusher on the team. So everybody could be leaving Tampa, and that would also be sweet if he goes to Tampa and then everybody leaves him and he's ended up with just basically Mike Evans, just like he had only Devontae Adams in Green Bay. That would actually be pretty funny.
yeah, I could see that happening too. Oh, there's a lot to find out.
So, again, I thought of two teams. And one you're going to hopefully agree with, and the other one you're going to be very unhappy about. But here you go. The first team, the team that I think is the shoe-in fit for Aaron Rodgers. What has been Aaron Rodgers' biggest complaint in Green Bay? Like, he doesn't have weapons, right?
Correct. He only has his pick and choose.
Right. He's got Devontae Adams, but he says, yeah, but I don't have anybody else. So, Katie, what team is loaded with weapons on the offensive side of the ball and just had their Hall of Fame quarterback retired that's not named Tom Brady?
The Patriots.
Really?
I'm just kidding. It's going to be the Steelers.
Yes. Think about it. Najee Harris, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool. And by the way, they got a pretty good defense last time I checked, except when it comes to rush defense. They kind of sucked in that category. But is there a more perfect fit?
No, I don't actually see. That's actually a perfect fit for Aaron Rodgers. He has everything he needs right at the palm of his hands if he were to go there.
Right. Now, financially, I have no idea if the Steelers can pay that man and make it work. And they probably have to give something up in return to Green Bay to get Aaron Rodgers. But if all things being equal, if money's not an issue and they don't have to give up too much, I think the Steelers are a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And he would go to a coach that he absolutely has to trust in Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, ever. So the second team, don't be mad, but if Russell Wilson was to leave, I could see him wanting to go to Seattle. And the only reason I say that is how sweet would it be for him to come to this division and beat the Rams, beat the Niners multiple times a year with what could be similar situation to what he had in Green Bay. They got a good running game in Rashad Penny and Chris Carson, and they got two very good receivers in Lockett and Metcalf. So
Yeah.
it's a little far-fetched, but I can see Rodgers wanting to do that just to spite some people.
If he were to do that, I swear to God, I am changing teams.
Oh, your heart would explode.
Yeah, it's over between me and the Seahawks. Moving on to the next chapter of life.
So, okay, speaking of moving on to next chapter of life, and speaking of Russell Wilson, he's the third quarterback that we're going to talk about real quick. Again,
Nope.
this is just on the assumption that he's leaving. There's no guarantee he's leaving. So, Katie, take off the denial hat for 5 minutes so we could figure this out.
No.
So, well, to be fair, you may be right, because of these three, guess who has the no-trade clause in his contract? It's not Aaron Rodgers, and it's not Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's Wilson.
It's Russell Wilson. Now, to be fair, Jimmy G did have a no-trade clause, but that only ran through this season, so that no longer applies. But Wilson's only going to go where Wilson wants to go, which means he's going to have a good situation or he's not going anywhere. So, Katie, do you have any thoughts of should the worst happen where Russell Wilson would go?
Yeah, the Seahawks. Right back to them.
So the team he's going to go to is going to play the Seahawks in Week 1. Gotcha. I don't know who the schedule is yet, but that's who he's going to.
This guy. If I had to pick one, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it could be the Niners. I mean, what better quarterback could they ask for? And Wilson will be delivered.
That is totally your heart, and you know it. Because there's no way that they're bringing him in. Now, don't get me wrong. They'd be dumb not to take him if he would come. But the whole point of getting Jimmy Garoppolo is to help prep Trey Lance and to open up some cap space. You bring Russell Wilson in, you're not doing either one of those things.
Yeah. I don't know, Brady. Hit me with your shots, because I'm shooting blanks on Wilson because I don't want him to go.
Again, you're having like traumatic stress just of the thought, and we haven't even said he's going anywhere yet. Okay, the two teams I thought of, the first one is the New Orleans Saints. They are a very dynamic team with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill at quarterback. Now, the one caveat there is Sean Payton just retired, so if Wilson goes there, it's going to probably have a lot to do with who the new head coach is. But if he goes there, he'll have Alvin Kamara, which is the running back version of Tyreek Hill, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, and by the way, Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway are both good receivers too. I can see him going there and being successful. Katie has no comment because you can't see him going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just going to hear you out because at the end of the day, Wilson's not going to go anywhere, nor do I want to picture him going to the Saints. So, sir, invalid. I don't like your comments right now. So, there is no he is, or there might be a no. Wilson is staying where he is. He said he will be bringing back a ring. I believe him. I believe in Wilson.
Okay. I'm not gonna.
I swear, if you jinx this, I'm coming for you.
How am I the one that jinxed it? It was the only talk during the offseason of how Russell Wilson was trying to get traded. And yet I'm the bad guy here. How does this work?
No, I don't believe you right now. I'm going to do my own research, and I'm going to think about what he said, what he's saying in conferences, and what they're planning to do. And if it doesn't conclude to him being traded, then I don't want to hear it, sir.
So what you're telling me is you have completely forgotten during the offseason where he put out that list where he says, I'm not asking to be traded, but if I was to be traded, I would like to go to one of the following teams. You forgot about that?
This mofo. No, we will find out soon enough. And when that day comes, I'm going to laugh in your face and be like, ha, 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 ha. We have another season with him.
Okay.
So good luck.
Cool. 5-12. Here you come again. Congratulations.
Yo. Oh my God.
Okay, the other team, if he was going to go to, that I could think of would be good, would be the Denver Broncos. Because
No.
they kind of seem to be a quarterback away. They don't have a big name wide receiver like Lockett or DK Metcalf, but a lot of Russell Wilson's most successful years was dealing with wide receivers that were quote unquote mediocre, if you're going to go Richard Sherman. So everybody said they didn't have a great wide receiver, but they were always dominating the passing game because of Russell Wilson. So they got a nice little trio of receivers that I all think are comparable to when Seattle was at their best. And their running game's not all that bad, and they also have a good defense too. That's my second team. Are you feeling better now, Katie?
Absolutely not.
Folks, if you could see her face, she just looks like I punched a puppy. She's not happy.
I don't even understand why we're still talking about Wilson.
At this point, I'm just doing it to screw with you, but it is what it is.
He's staying. That's all I got to say, ladies and gentlemen. He's staying.
Okay, folks, that is our episode for this week. Like I said, we're condensing these down a little bit more. Hopefully next week we'll get into bigger topics. We might talk Tom Brady. I think we're definitely going to talk about Brian Flores. And we'll probably look into a little bit of the Super Bowl, unless something else dynamic comes out between now and then. But who knows, because in sports, give it 5 minutes and then everything can change. So, Katie, if the folks want to find more of you, where can they find you?
You guys can always find me on Twitter at KitKat17287. Shawn, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Shawn_Brady82, or they can find the show at Excuse My Frenemy. Or if they want to find us on Google, they could always just type in Excuse My Frenemy, and we should be the first result that comes up. You'll see mine and Katie's lovely smiling faces, and then you should have access to any of our episodes that you could ever want. And even the ones you probably don't want. But anyway. All right, Katie. I had fun in the shorter version. I think we should keep this going. What do you say we do it next week?
Sounds good to me.